What's going on, guys? It's Kyle here with Gnarly Knives, and today we're going to be discussing a little bit of zdp189 versus K390. I have one example of each. I have them on the same knife. Well, it's two different knives, but it's the same knife. I just have two of them, and that is the Enduras. So I have the zdp189, which is the British Racing Green, I think it's called, and then the K390 is in this, I don't know, dark blue. I don't think this has a fancy name. I could be wrong. If it does, let me know. So I've had both of these knives for a while now, especially the zdp189. I've had this knife for a couple years now. This one I've had for, I don't know, a good few months anyway, so definitely not quite as long. But I've been carrying both of these. It's funny, I've been carrying this more or less non-stop since I've gotten it. But the last couple weeks, I've been kind of switching out and carrying this just because I missed it. And using both of them, especially, like I said, the last couple weeks kind of going off and on, it made me kind of think, oh, this probably be a cool idea for a video. Because I've just been not even thinking about doing a video, but just different things I've kind of noticed between the two. And I thought this would make a good idea for a video. So that's what we're doing today. So both of these knives, I actually looked up on my Knife Steel app, which is just called Knife Steel app. If anybody wants one, it's pretty cool. It's free. You can just get it off the App Store or whatever it's called. I've had it for a few years now, and I really like it. It is a pretty good reference. It gives you a good basic idea. And I thought it was pretty cool because these knives, in performance, from what I've noticed, are pretty similar in actual, like, cutting, using them. I mean, granted, it's the same knife, so they have, pretty much the same grind, stuff like that. But just in the edge retention and, how long they stay shaving sharp versus how they stay, hair whittling sharp. But what I've noticed just from sharpening both of them, because I've sharpened this one quite a few times. This one I've sharpened, I sharpened it again today. It was probably the fifth or sixth time I've sharpened it. Most of those were like the first week I got it, because there's the, I do my initial sharpening, which is I just do just because whatever. But I've been starting to slowly bring the edge down a little bit and kind of making it a little bit thinner, just because I generally just like my edges a little thinner. And you guys might probably remember, because some of my older videos I have talked about where I went through this phase for like a year and a half where just every knife I got, I was just putting these crazy thin edges on. And the zdp189 Endura was one of them. I think I got this at the height of that. And I've started to do that a little bit with this. The edge on this isn't quite as thin. I have no idea what the angles are. I don't have an angle finder. It's just, I just do it freehand. So I don't know. I just do it until I like it. But with that, I've definitely noticed they definitely perform a little different when it comes to sharpening. But there are also just some other things too I noticed that we could talk about, especially because both of these go for around the same price. I think they're both in the like 130 to 140 range. So if you are caught between the two, this might help you decide what you might like better and what might, if you were only going to buy one, or if you do want both, which one you might want to pick up first. So with these, like I said, zdp189, K390, and both of these are tool steels. The zdp189 is made by Hitachi in Japan, so this is a Japanese steel. And then the K390 is made, I believe it's Germany, but Bowler makes it. See, these are the same people that make like M390, and I recently found out they have a steel that's S390. I had never heard of it. I don't know how long it's been out. I had only just recently learned about it the last few months. But both really cool steels. To choose between the two, I don't know, maybe at the end, if I can, while talking about this, as of right now, I don't know if I could choose between the two. But let's get more into So what I've noticed, so like I said, they're both tool steels. Neither one of these are considered stainless steels. Both of these will rust. What's funny though with the ZDP189 is it actually, the percentage of chromium is in it does, I guess you could technically classify it as a stainless steel, but it doesn't behave like a stainless steel because it does rust, fairly easily. So this has 20% chromium. To be considered stainless, a stainless steel, it needs to have 13% chromium or higher. Now you can get close to that. For example, D2, I mean, some people refer to it as a semi-stainless steel because it has, I believe it's 12% chromium. Now the K390 only has 4%. And I wrote up a little cheat sheet I kind of wrote down to kind of go with the comparison. But this is also a kind of a cool, excuse me, way of looking at it, because the ZDP189 in and of itself is very simple. Pretty much the main components in it are carbon and chromium, and there's a little bit of molybdenum in it too. This has the carbon, the chromium, there's molybdenum. What else we got? Oh, it has 9% vanadium in it. This has a lot of stuff going on with it. It has cobalt. I think that was all I wrote down. There were some other things, but these are like the big that I knew, I'll be honest. Some of them I can't pronounce, and I don't really know what they are. Not a metallurgist, but this is just stuff that I've picked up over the years. So pretty much the two main components is the carbon, this chromium in the ZDP189, and then it's 1.4% molybdenum. The K390 has 4% of the molybdenum, but those are the general makeup. There's a little bit of other stuff sprinkled in. I think it said the ZDP has like 0.1% vanadium. So it has a little bit of that fancy stuff, the fancy alloys that make up a lot of the modern steels. But like I said, it's like a sprinkling. The carbon and the chromium are doing a lot of the work. Now, with all that chromium, that's a lot of chromium. But that chromium, a lot of it gets eaten up by the carbon to form the chromium carbides. And so it kind of cancels out a lot of the carbon. For example, this has 3% carbon. The K390 has 2.5% carbon. To kind of have that make sense, or the way I kind of think of it is 1095 has 1% carbon. And 1095 is kind of my, I kind of use that as the base when I think of like carbon steels. It's just what always sticks out in my head. And 1095 is a pretty good steel. Love it. Of course, it's not a super steel by any means like these are. But to kind of give you like a jumping off point, so a lot of the steels that are used in like the SE knives, the rat knives, the K-bar, a lot of companies use 1095 because it is a great steel. But just so you kind of get an idea where I'm coming from there. So a lot of that carbon is eaten up, or a lot of that chromium is eaten up by the carbon. So like I said, the K390 is 4% chromium, so that they threw in just to form carbides. Same with the vanadium, gets eaten up to form those nice carbides. With this though, there is definitely some chromium left over. The K390, I've noticed, will rust a little bit easier than the ZDP189. The ZDP189 reminds me very much of D2 in its rust prevention, or its, stainlessness, I guess you could say. Rust, from what I've noticed, a little bit easier than D2 will, but it doesn't rust quite as easy as the K390 will. I mean, if you keep your knives dry, it's not really an issue. It's just what I've noticed. It also picks up the K390, though I've had it a fraction of the amount of time that I've had the ZDP189. The K390 has a lot more, oh my God, I can't even think of the word. Patina. There's a lot more patina on this that I've noticed. It just picks it up a lot easier. As I say with all my knife reviews, I use these a lot for like food prep stuff, and my enduras are no different, especially if that longer blade, so it makes it great for cutting up larger things. This has a lot more patina on it. And I've just over the years, because I've gone through bouts where I would just carry this for months at a time. So this definitely has a lot more use on it, and definitely more use in the kitchen and in general. This does have some patina on it, but not nearly as much as this does. No, that's not a problem. I love that. It adds character. But it is something that, you do notice. And so I definitely, to me, tells me that though I'm sure a vast majority of that chromium is eaten up by the carbon, there is still some left over. Doesn't mean that I would let this stay wet, because it still will rust very easily compared to stainless steels. But if that is something that you are concerned about, the ZDP would definitely be a little bit better of an idea, a little bit better of an option, because you will have a little more forgiveness with with stainlessness, or if you cut something, you don't wipe it off right away, you put it in your pocket. So that is something right there, but it does still pick up some of that patina on it. The ZD, the K390. Now, from what I've noticed between the two, now granted, it could be from all the extra vanadium and stuff that also is in it. These both take a while to sharpen. All right, this isn't something I would recommend for a new sharpener. I mean, it's your knife. I mean, do whatever the hell you want with it. But if someone's just starting out in sharpening, I wouldn't recommend either one right away. Maybe practice with some other knives first. But from what I've noticed, it definitely takes a little more work, or at least a little more time, to get the edges fine on the K390 as it is with the ZDP. Um, I have both of these a razor shaving sharp. The ZDP, right now I have it will whittle hair. The K390 has a couple spots that'll whittle hair. I mean, once you hit shaving sharp, I mean, do you really need to be that much sharper? No, not really. I mean, I guess if you're doing surgery or something with it, but it is something that, I do notice, or I have noticed, so I do want to just bring that to the attention. Um, Now, if I spend a little more time with this, maybe put this back on like my 12,000 grit stone or something, or spend, an extra few minutes stropping it, yeah, I think this will will get that hair whittling edge. But you do need to spend a little more time with the K390 from what I've noticed. I mean, please let me know your experiences, if you sharpen a lot of knives, or if you have ZDP and K390, what your experience is. But this is what I'm coming up with. Both of these I've sharpened on my diamond stones, and I've sharpened on my bench stones, my whetstones. And I've noticed they're pretty similar to each other. It takes a little longer with the K390 versus the ZDP 189. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, it's maybe an extra 10 minutes on this versus this. But whereas both of these, I mean, it's not, I don't know, VG10, 'cause that's what the standard one comes in, is VG10. I mean, that you probably like 3 minutes from start to finish, you get that thing razor shaving, hair whittling sharp. Whereas, at least with me, from start to finish, I might take me about a half hour with ZDP, maybe about 40 minutes for me with the K390. Some people I'm sure can do it a lot faster, but I also like to kind of take my time with it. But both of these do perform pretty well. Um, in just initial just use, I mean, I haven't, really, well, the ZDP one, I've talked about in my review of it, but where I dropped this on a tile and snapped the tip off, because it is a fairly brittle steel. I mean, this was designed for cutting and cutting and cutting, or, um, so that is, my experience with this. Now, I haven't dropped the K390. I'm not planning to, at least not intentionally, dropping this on a steel tile at my father-in-law's house. Um, I mean, I suppose if, someone wants to send me one, or if Spyderco wants to send me one, then yeah, I'll drop this on the tip and see how easy it snaps off. But I'm not planning on doing that. um, but I haven't really noticed, other than that, much difference when, if I'm cutting up cardboard with them, you hit a staple or something like that. These do handle pretty similarly. But if I had to say between the two, it seems to me that the K390 does handle a little bit better when you do run into things that you shouldn't be running knives into, or that we try not to run our blades into. It seems like the K390 holds up a little bit better. So there's another thing too. For stainless, the ZDP would be a little bit better. For toughness, it's seeming to me that the K390 is a little bit better. Overall, I mean, the edge retention is very similar. It's very, very tough for me to really find a difference without doing an actual sit down cut test and, go from there, put the same edge on both of them. What I can recommend, though, if that is something you are very interested in, I would highly recommend checking out Pete over at Cedric and Ada. He does the rope cut tests with knives, and not even just these steels, just any steel you can think of. He has steels that I've never heard of, or at the very least have no experience using. And he does videos of testing ZDP, the K390. So if you watch a few videos, you can kind of get a decent idea how the two perform, at least when it comes to just straight raw edge retention. But these both have such good edge retention, I'm not really too concerned one way or the other. I think overall, if I did have to choose, see, it's tough because, like I said, I think it just comes down to the color. I mean, blue is my favorite color, but I really like this green. um, uh, do I have a favorite between K390 and ZDP? I don't know. That's really tough. I mean, I guess if you put a gun to my head, I had to choose only one. It's like, because as soon as I start thinking ZDP, I want to say K390. When I start thinking K390, I want to go ZDP. But I feel like I owe you guys an answer. If I could only keep one of these, if I had to just throw one of these away right now. I might stick with the K390. It hurts saying that, but I might stick with the K390. It is a little more of a pain with the sharpening, but it's a little tougher, but it rusts easier. But I'm also not, I'm not taking it fishing. Yeah, I'd probably do the K390, but I already have both, so I don't have to make that decision, at least not now. But yeah, but overall, this is just what my experience is. If you guys kind of like this idea, or this kind of video, I definitely will do more. I've kind of done this a little bit with various steels, just over the life of this channel. But if that is something you guys do want to see more of, versus just doing reviews and other stuff, please let me know. Or if you guys have requests of different steels you want me to talk about, as long as I have the steel, or it's a steel that I, have in my collection, I have experience with, then I'd be more than happy to accommodate those requests. Because I do like talking about this stuff. It is very fun for me. I love nerding out. So let me know if you guys are interested in anything like that. But great knives. If you can't decide between the two, flip a coin. You're not going to be dissatisfied either way. I would just break it down to the ZDP, a little bit better with stainlessness, a little bit easier to sharpen, but it's a little more brittle. The K390, a little bit more of a pain to sharpen, but it's a little tougher, just like steel toughness. It just depends on what you're looking for. I mean, they're both good, pure workhorse knives, just the endura in general. But yeah, if you're looking for something that you need to, maybe beat up a little bit, the K390 might be better. But if you need something that's just made for cutting, maybe go with the K390, especially if it's the zdp189, especially if it's a little bit, more humid or moist environments. But I don't think you'll be dissatisfied either way. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. I mean, let me know your thoughts. But please remember to keep carving, stay sharp. Please like, subscribe, share the video. And also, too, just because I'm sure someone might ask, if anybody is wondering, these lights are, these are just some grow lights. I'm not growing weed. It's not that. But this is my dragon fruit plant. So I just got my dragon fruit, and then I have a bunch of other various plants here. I mean, if anybody really cares. But I got a baby dragon fruit. I got a wisteria. These are a couple, these are some dragon fruits. I'm starting from seed. You might be able to see you got some little babies in there. There's another dragon fruit cutting, another wisteria. These are a couple of oleanders. I got some olive branch cuttings. And then up here, I just have other various stuff. There's a Japanese maple. This is the olive tree I think I killed. These are a couple redwoods. I might bonsai, and then other various just cacti, some other things starting from seed, some aloe plants. You kind of get an idea there. But I don't know, a little bit of everything. I love my plants. I love my knives. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys got something out of it. And yeah, have a good one, guys. I'll catch you later. Peace.